Every airport runs on one rule: everyone inside is supposed to be there. Tonight, 5 true stories about the people who weren't. Stowaway over the Atlantic. Man living behind security for 3 months. Workers sealed into the cargo hold. 2 teenagers whose tickets should never have been sold. And a man who made a terminal his home for 18 years. All documented. Names changed where the people were never public. Stay for the last one. It doesn't end the way you think. Confession number 1. The passenger who wasn't there. November 2024. Thanksgiving week. Delta Flight 264 is somewhere over the Atlantic when the crew notices a woman they can't place. She keeps moving, lavatory to lavatory, never settling. They run a head count. The number comes back wrong, 1 extra. She has no ticket, no boarding pass, no record. She does not exist on this airplane. Rewind 12 hours to JFK. 57-year-old woman walks up to TSA checkpoint with no boarding pass. They turn her away. That should be the end of the story. Instead, she watches, and she waits. Foreign flight crew approaches a special employee lane. She folds herself into the group, and the lane swallows her through. No boarding pass, no eject sticks. She's inside. KB-38 agents are helping a family with strollers. She walks in behind them down the jet bridge onto a Boeing 767 bound for Paris. For 7 hours, she hides in plain sight. Passengers later remembered her, a quiet woman who seemed to belong to no seat in particular. The manifest said 1 number. The cabin held another. When the wheels touch down in Paris, French police are already on the bridge. Flown back to New York, she faces a federal judge. The judge releases her with a GPS monitor locked to her ankle. Here's where it gets strange. She cut it off. Days later, officers pull her off a bus in Buffalo. Final stop, the Canadian border. And while all this is happening, Delta finds another stowaway. Different airport, different plane, same month. Stowaways, 1 airline, 1 month. Nobody can say how many were never counted. Confession number 2. The resident of the secure side. October 2020. Man flies from Los Angeles to Chicago O'Hare. When his flight home boards, he isn't on it. He doesn't leave the airport. Not that night, not that month. Somewhere in those first days, he finds an employee badge, one an operations manager had already reported missing. And with a badge around his neck, a man in an airport becomes invisible. He sleeps in the gate seating. He washes in the restrooms. The passengers, believing he works there, hand him food. He learns the terminal's rhythm. Which food court closes last? Which gate stays empty after the even rush? Where the cameras don't linger. 3 meals a day arrive as gifts from strangers. Days become weeks. Weeks become 3 months. Christmas passes. New Year passes. Pendek empties the terminal around him, and still nobody asks. Until January 2021. United employees stop him and ask to see their badge. The name on it isn't his. The face on it isn't his. He tells the police the truth. He was scared to fly home because of the virus. He had been living airside behind security at one of the busiest airports on Earth for 3 months. The charge sheet reads like a riddle, impersonating airport staff, criminal trespass, and theft under $500. For theft, for badge, 3 months. And the only question that matters, how did nobody notice? Confession number 3. The knocking. You might know this one from our first confession. Here's the part that didn't fit in 60 seconds. April 2015. Alaska Airlines Flight 440 lifts off from Seattle. 14 minutes in, the pilots declare an emergency. Something is banging beneath the cabin. Ramp agent had told his crew lead he was taking a break. And he climbed into the forward cargo hold, stretched out on the soft bags, and fallen asleep. The door closed. The hold went dark, and Flight 448 pushed back exactly on time. He woke sealed in the dark to jet engines at takeoff power. His phone had 1 bar. A 911 call lasted 44 seconds before the sky took the signal. So he hammered the ceiling, which is the cabin's floor, until the passengers felt it through their shoes. The plane landed 14 minutes after takeoff, emergency crews waiting on the tarmac. A man walked out of the hold unharmed and into the strangest personnel meeting in aviation. Medics checked him on the tarmac and found nothing wrong. Passengers filmed him walking away, blinking against the morning light. The investigation found he'd chosen that spot on purpose. It was his nap spot. He was lucky twice, once that the hold was pressurized and once that the bags were soft. He kept his life. The airline made sure he would never touch one of their planes again. Confession number 4. The agent who said no. Sacramento. An ordinary evening at an American Airlines counter. The girls, 15 and 17, hand over their documents for a flight to New York. Everything technically works. The tickets are real. The system says green. Any other night, they board. But the agent looks twice. First class one way. No return. No adult. No check bags. And the credit card that bought the tickets carries a stranger's name. She asks about the trip. The story spills out easily. Too easily. A man they met on Instagram. A modeling job. A music video. $2,000 for a weekend in New York. The girls believed the tickets were round trip. They weren't. There was no return flight. The agent never scanned their boarding passes. She called a sheriff's deputy instead. The deputy interviews the girls gently in a quiet office away from the counter. The story unravels in minutes. Investigators concluded what the girls couldn't see. The job was a lure, and it had nothing to do with modeling. The man behind the Instagram account was never identified. He stayed anonymous behind his screen. 2 boarding passes never scanned. Possibly the 2 most important pieces of paper in those girls' lives. The agent's name is Dennis Miracle. That part we didn't change. The last confession. The man who never left. August 1988. A soft-spoken Iranian man lands at Paris Charles de Gaulle, Terminal 1. His documents, the papers proving who he is and where he may go, are gone. Stolen, he said, in a train station. France can't admit him. No airline can board him. He is legally nowhere. So he sits down on a red plastic bench. And he stays. Days, then weeks, then years. Staff begin to call him Sir Alfred. Shops send him meal vouchers. The airport doctor checks on him. The bench becomes an address. His world shrinks to one polished quarter. Morning flights wake him. Night cleaners sweep around his feet. The departure board becomes his only calendar. His red bench sits between a pizzeria and an electronics shop. Beside it, his whole life fits into a few neat boxes and a rolling cart. He reads. He writes a diary that grows past 1,000 pages. Around him, passengers fly to new lives every single day, while his life holds perfectly still. Journalists visit. Lawyers argue about him in rooms he will never see. He answers every question politely and stays exactly where he is. In 1999, the paperwork finally comes through. Refugee status. Freedom. The doors are open. And here's the twist that made him famous. He doesn't leave. The papers stay in his folder unsigned. The bench stays his. According to those who knew him, the terminal had become the only place that felt safe. His whole identity fit inside it. He finally left in 2006 when his health failed. By then, Hollywood had already turned his story into a movie. But in 2022, an old man with a suitcase appeared again in Terminal 2F. Sir Alfred had come home. He died there that November. He had lived in the airport for 18 years. He chose to leave the world from it too. 5 people who were never supposed to be there. 1 ran for a border. 1 hid behind a badge. 1 knocked on the floor of a plane. 2 walked away from a trap they never saw. And 1 stayed 18 years because leaving felt worse. If this kept you up, the night terminal is open every night. Subscribe and confess below which one would you have noticed.